Once more, thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, Isa Shoaibu Lau Taraba North. Mr. President, I am coming under the combined orders of 41 and 51. With your permission, I may read. Thank you.
Proceed.
Order 41. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before the commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Order 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present.
Proceed.
I've read order 41 and 51.
What is it about?
What, sir?
Summarize the...
This is a motion on the urgent need to discuss the problems of herders, farmers, and also the problem of bandits in Karilamido local government of Taraba State. Last 2 weeks, bandits that normally hide under the border between Plateau, Taraba, where you have a thick forest, down to Bauchi, where you have the Yankari Game Reserve. Because of the absence of security around that border, they used to cross between Plateau and Taraba and wreak havoc, kill people, burn houses, and cut away livestock of poor people around the area. And also, the same last week, there is a reprisal attacks between the farmers and herdmen that bring about the killing and unwanted destruction of house and property. At the moment, about 60 to 70 people were killed. We discovered their corpses and were buried in a mass grave. That's why I want to bring to the notice of the Senate for urgent attention.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that the Swing Senator Shoaibu Lau be allowed to present this petition, this motion on urgent national importance in respect of security? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Motion of matters of urgent national importance. The Senate notes that on Friday, the 23rd of May 2025, there was a serious farmers' herder crisis that led to the loss of lives. About 60 to 70 persons in Mungalelau, Maigami village, under Karilamido local government area of Taraba State. It was gathered that the incident was triggered by a reprisal attack from both farmers and herders of the community. Further notes that from Friday 23rd of Sunday to 25th, about 40 houses were burned down and more than 200 people displaced, scattered in camps in local government headquarters and in neighboring local government area. Also note that the same Karilamido local government, which share boundary with Plateau and Bauchi State, has been suffering from attacks by bandits using the border as their hideout due to lack of security presence in the area of Komonoro, Jebjeb communities with bad terrains and thick forests, which harbored these bandits across Company, Chibi, and Tabgun communities in Plateau states. Further disturbed that those incident cripple many economic activities and render people homeless and in need of formal support. Prayers urge the National Emergency Management Agency and the Northeast Development Commission to immediately, as a matter of urgency, provide necessary relief materials to the affected communities. 2, urge the security agency to deploy and set up more security camps to increase surveillance around the border of Taraba, Plateau, and Bauchi State. 3, observe 1 minute silence in respect of those who lost their lives during the crisis. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Binus Yero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Binus Yaro, Adamawa South. I rise to support this motion brought by distinguished Senator Shoaibu Yisalau on the urgent needs to look at the security issues in his senatorial district that has led to loss of lives and properties in the last 1 week. Mr. President, last week, when distinguished Senator Aminu Iya Abbas presented a similar motion here concerning Boko Haram attacks in his constituency leading to loss of lives and destruction of properties, I wanted to inform the Senate that an imminent attack was about to happen in Taraba North because the police command of Taraba State had issued a signal to all police formations, and also information was rife that such an attack was imminent. And it is important, Mr. President, when we get information that attacks are going to take place, that the security agencies should rise up and try to prevent such attacks from happening. But unfortunately, these things have happened, and the prayers that are in this motion should all be supported. With this, Mr. President, I support this motion, and I ask all my colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Senator Karimi.
Thank you, our President, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Mr. President, last week, I brought a motion on this same subject, where one of our royal fathers in my state was kidnapped. And in the last 2 weeks, several others from my senatorial district, up to 2025, up to 30, they've been kidnapped. You will recall, Mr. President, also that the governor of Borno State made a statement that the recent comeback of Boko Haram has been investigated to the fact that some certain interest, some disgruntled element in the nation, and including the military men, they are collaborating with these people. We need to find out why. What is the rationale behind this? Mr. President, you recently set up a committee on this security matter across the nation. We cannot allow this disgruntled element to pull the nation down because of their interest. We know before 2015 election, when some people prepared for violence, thinking if they lose election, they will unleash violence on this nation. We need to investigate this matter. These same people might be thinking that they can unleash violence on the nation in preparation for 2027 election. All these issues have gotten to be investigated. They may be feeling that they are losing out. And the best thing they can do is to cause violence in the nation. We cannot allow this nation to be brought down to its knee because you want to take over government by force. So the panel that we have set up, they need to go into this matter, even with these nation security organizations, to unearth the people that are collaborating with these terrorists. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njuma Goje, representing Gombe Central, Gombe State. Mr. President, I stand to support the motion by the Single Senator Law on the recent unfortunate crisis that erupted in Kerala local government. Kerala local government is a local government bordering my own state, bordering Gombe State. Mr. President, like the last speaker said, this crisis, we have to look deeper into why these crises are coming up at this point in time. Virtually everywhere crisis, like the one in Law, is not only the one in Law. We have the one that recently took place around my border of my own constituency in Bauchi, Al-Kaleri, and Al-Kali local government. There was a similar incident that happened. And this is happening nationwide. So, Mr. President, I fully support the suggestion by Senator Karimi that we will have to look deeper into the sudden surge of crisis nationwide. We have to look into the issue to see whether it's a linkage with the politics of 2027 or not. Because we cannot take it lightly. Yesterday it was Law, day first day it was Kaleri. Next time it can happen in any other state in Nigeria. It is really very shameful and also very worrisome that security has become our number one problem in this country. Well, we're talking about it. We know the federal government is doing its best. Security agents are doing their best. But it's not enough. We must go all out and put it as our number one issue to be tackled seriously and decisively once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody that is opposed to this motion? If there is nobody opposed to the motion, do we go straight to the prayers? Prayer 1, urge the National Emergency Management Agency and the Northeast Development Commission, NEMA, and NEDC to immediately, as a matter of urgency, provide necessary relief materials to the affected communities. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye.
Observation.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, all the security agencies to deploy and set up more security camps to increase surveillance around the border of Taraba, Plateau, and Bauchi states. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, observe 1 minute silence in respect of those who lost their lives during the crisis or the reprisal attacks. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer, Senator, distinguished Deputy Leader of the Senate.
Your Excellency, I'm Senator Ashiro, representing Kwara South. I will want to focus my additional prayer on responsibility of state and local government on the issue of security. And I will want to say that we should ask the state government concerned and the local government
to live up to their responsibility on issue of security, of property and life. I so submit.
Any seconder? Okay, Deputy Senate President, you may wish to bail your leader out.
Wait to see that the motion of the deputy leader of the Senate fails. That is an abomination. It will be a legislative abomination. I therefore stand to second this motion. I so second.
Okay, okay. Thank you for bailing the deputy leader out. The motion, additional prayer by the deputy leader and seconded by an able deputy Senate President. Those in support of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank the Senior Senator Lau for bringing this motion to the fore and pray that God Almighty will enable security to return to most of the affected communities in the country so that we will not continue to have incidences of this nature where over 70 people are killed as they go in one location. So may the souls of those that died rest in peace. Thank you. And I pray that the security agencies will heed the advice of the Senate, deploy more security to the area, and then also ensure surveillance. So we may rise for 1 minute silence in honor of the departed. May the souls of our brothers, sisters, fathers, and mothers who lost their lives at Maigami village under Karim Lamido local government area of Taraba State in an avoidable communal crisis rest in perfect peace. Leader of the Senate.
Which one?
Read from here. Just this one.
When, which
The
one?
same thing.
Okay. Mr. President, the first business of the day is presentation of a House bill standing in my name on National Agency for Technology Incubation, Establishment Bill 2025, HB 1025. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Agency for Technology Incubation Establishment Bill 2025, HB 1025, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Agency for Technology Incubation Establishment Bill 2025, HB 1025, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate. Mm.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the second business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Azuko Ekpeyong on Federal University of Technology Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 836. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Universities of Technology Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 836, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal Universities of Technology Act Amendment Bill 2025 SB 836, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the top business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Nwoko Ned Munir on the African Descendants Citizenship Application Bill 2025 SB 838. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, African Descendants Citizenship Application Bill 2025 SB 838, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, African Descendants Citizenship and Application Bill 2025 SB 838, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the fourth business of the day is presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Abaribe Akot on Public Interest Litigation Bill 2025 SB 839. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Public Interest Litigation Bill 2025 SB 839, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Public Interest Litigation Bill 2025 SB 839, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Saliu Mustafa on the Nigerian Women and Youth Enterprise Equity Fund Bill 2025 SB 841. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Women and Youth Enterprise Equity Fund Bill 2025 SB 841, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Women and Youth Enterprise Equity Fund Bill 2025 SB 841, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Annie Anthony Okore on the Fruits Prohibition of Chemical Ripening Bill 2025 SB 842. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Fruits Prohibition of Chemical Ripening Bill 2025 SB 842, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Fruits Prohibition of Chemical Ripening Bill 2025 SB 842, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Musa Mohammed Sani, aka 313, on the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025 SB 844. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Ministry of Finance Incorporated Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025, SB 843, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Ministry of Finance Incorporated Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025, SB 844, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the 2025 River State Appropriation Bill 2025 SB 843. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Thursday, 22nd May 2025. Mr. President, with your permission, I am standing up to move that the bill be read a second time, and in support of that motion, Mr. President, I hereby wish to lead the debate on the 2025 River State Appropriation Bill 2025 SB 843. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the general principles of the 2025 River State Appropriation Bill. The bill is deemed to have been read the first time by virtue of its being read via a communication from the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on Thursday, 22nd May 2025. Mr. President, my highly esteemed colleagues, this bill seeks to authorize the issue out of the River State Consolidated Revenue Fund of the total sum of, distinguished colleagues, the bill seeks to authorize the issue out of the River State Consolidated Revenue Fund the total sum of 1.481 trillion, that's 1,481 billion naira only for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2025. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may wish to recall that Rivers State is currently under emergency rule, which was proclaimed and duly gazetted and approved by the National Assembly in March of 2025. Regulation 4.2 sub F of the Emergency Rule 2025 requires authorization for expenditure from the consolidated revenue of Rivers State for its activities. The budget submission follows the declaration of emergency rule in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on March 18, 2025, and the subsequent nullification of the state's 2025 budget by the Supreme Court. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, we are today called upon by history to play our role as distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and as statesmen to perform our constitutional duty in the absence of the Rivers State House of Assembly to approve the budget proposal for the emergency rule for government of Rivers State. This budget is specifically for the emergency rule government of Rivers State, aimed at providing essential services such as 1. Infrastructure development, over 324 billion naira allocated for road projects and public transportation upgrades. 2. Agriculture, Nearly 32 billion naira earmarked for agricultural transformation to boost youth engagement in farming. 3. Education. Over 75.6 billion naira is allocated for improving learning environments and ensuring access to free basic education. 4. Healthcare. 166.5 billion naira, amounting to 14.4% of the budget, is set aside for major healthcare projects, including completing zonal hospitals and general hospitals. 5. Youth empowerment. Approximately 6.2 billion naira is being allocated for digital resource centers, sports development, and finally, women affairs, where a sum of 5.2 billion naira is earmarked for social inclusion. It is important, distinguished colleagues, above all, to note that the spending plan prioritizes investment in critical sectors of the state, such as infrastructure, health, including free drugs for malaria and other common ailments, education, and also agriculture, which is projected to generate approximately 6,000 jobs. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the budget aims to promote inclusive growth and development with a focus on sustainable economic expansion and improved living conditions for residents, with funding sources from Federal Allocation Committee allocations, internally generated revenue, statutory allocations, mineral funds, VAT, and refunds. This budget is designed to stabilize the state, restore critical services, and improve livelihoods. I therefore urge my dear colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. I thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues.
The Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I stand to commend the leader of the Senate for bringing forward these requests by the administrator of Rivers State seeking for the approval of this August Senate so that funds will be made available to his office to run the affairs of the state. The request is in order, and the way the request is presented in the National Assembly is something that the administrator should be commended for, because the request contains the source of funds that are going to be utilized to fund the activities as outlined in the request. This is quite in order, and what he did is quite in order. And the content is self-explanatory, very much well articulated and direct to the point. Because clearly the source of funds are made available, are stated here, as well as the items to be funded are also stated. These are items that are critical to the development of the state, very, very critical, very, very important. Therefore, because of the nature, the well-articulated nature of the request, because it's very direct to the point, there's nothing that ambiguous here, and very, very clear. I urge my colleagues to give our note so that the request will be treated expeditiously, so that the people of Rivers State will have the benefit of what is stated here, so that the administrator will go straight away to begin to work for the development of the state. I say something, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chairman Appropriation, Olami Leko.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Adeola Solomon Olamilekan, representing Ogun West Senatorial District and the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, this is in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are performing our constitutional duty that we are working on the appropriation document of Rivers State House of Assembly. It's a clear indication that the Nigerian Senate is up to the task of ensuring that governance still exists in Rivers State. Mr. President, I align myself perfectly with the Deputy Senate President that the document before us is unambiguous, it is clear, because the budget, even though we don't know the name in which it was christened, budget of emergency. Sir, we don't know the name in which the budget was christened, but from the brief submission of the leader of the Senate, it's clear that this document before us is something that a lot of effort has been put into it to ensure that the people of Rivers State can continue to feel the presence of governance in the state. And by my own rough estimate, I observe that more than 35 or 40% of this budget is on infrastructure, as highlighted by the leader of the Senate, with 324 billion being allocated to infrastructural development and 32 billion allotted to agriculture and 75.6 billion allotted to education and 166 billion allotted to healthcare. Mr. President, it's a clear indication that this is a serious document, and I want to implore that when the committee will sit to consider this document, they should also place emphasis on what constitute the recurrent expenditure of overhead and personnel, because according to the document, the budget is aimed at creating additional 6,000 jobs for the people of Rivers State. And if such document, if all that is contained is in that document, it shows that this is one document that we should allow to have an expeditious passage by this Senate. And on that note, Mr. President, I rise to second the debate on the Rivers State Appropriation Bill 2025. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody that is opposed to this bill going for a second reading? Okay. Those who support that this bill be read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I believe for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Funds of Rivers State, the total sum of 1,380,662,442 naira only, of which 120,809,305,904 naira only is for debt service. 2,877,727,373 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure. Why the 1,250,259,164 naira only is for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2025, and for related matters 2025 SB 843 second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to authorize the issuance from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of Rivers State, the total sum of 1,80,662,592,442 naira only, of which 120,809,305,000 naira, 904 naira only is for debt services. The sum of 208,727,373 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 1,070,250,859,164 naira only is for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2025 and for related matters, second reading taken. The bill is now committed to the Special Ad Hoc Committee to supervise the activities of the interim administrator of Rivers State and to revert to the Senate in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the consideration and adoption of the Conference Committee report on the Tax Reform Bills 2025 as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House of Representatives passed different versions of the Tax Reform Bills 2025. The Conference Committee of both houses had met and harmonized the differences in accordance with Senate Standing Order 86. Mr. President, with your permission, I move the motion for the Senate to now proceed to consider and adopt the conference report which had been laid by the chairman of the conference committee yesterday. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, the same move by the Senate leader that we accept this document and work on it as so second.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that we do accept and receive and consider the Conference Committee report on Tax Reform Bills 2025 as listed in the order paper. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Chairman, Conference Committee, you may proceed to lay the reports. Oh, okay. Okay, if it was laid yesterday, go ahead and present.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. I stand before this hallowed chamber to present the report on the harmonized copies of the tax reform bills. The Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the differences in Clause 3, Jurisdiction of Tax Authority, House version adopted, Clause 7, issuance of tax identification, House version adopted. Clause 8, use of taxpayers identification, Senate version adopted. Clause 11, income tax for companies, Senate version adopted. Clause 20, monthly returns of mineral royalty, House version adopted. Clause 22, returns for value added tax, House version adopted. Clause 24, returns of surcharge, Senate version adopted. Clause 25, returns for virtual asset services providers, Senate version adopted. Clause 29, information to be delivered by bankers and others, House version adopted. Clause 33, accreditation of tax agents, House version adopted. Clause 39, currency of assessment and payment, House version adopted. Clause 41, revision of assessment in case of objection, House version adopted. Clause 45, liability of manager or principal officer, Senate version adopted. Clause 50, payment of tax for companies engaged in upstream petroleum operations and midstream liquefied natural gas operations, House version adopted. Clause 59, power to remove books and documents, House version adopted. Clause 61, power to distrain, Senate version adopted. Clause 64, tax investigation, Senate version adopted. Clause 66, remission of penalty, House version adopted. Clause 68, assignment of tax debts, Senate version adopted. Clause 72, tax clearance certificate harmonized. Clause 78, power of president to exempt companies from income tax, Senate version adopted. Clause 79, taxation of digital and virtual transactions, Senate version adopted. Clause 80, power of Accountant General to deduct at source, Senate version adopted. Clause 81, distribution of value-added tax revenue, House version adopted. Clause 82, transfer of tax revenue for refund, Senate version adopted. Clause 83, national single window portal, Senate version adopted. Clause 89, establishment and composition of the management board of the state service, House version adopted. Clause 90, appointment of the executive chairman of the state service, House version adopted. Clause 91, functions of the state board, House version adopted. Clause 92, establishment of technical committee of the state board, House version adopted. Clause 94, functions of revenue committee, House version adopted. Clause 95, establishment and composition of state joint revenue committee, House version adopted. Clause 96, functions of the state joint revenue service, House version adopted. Clause 97, exercise of power by relevant tax authority, House version adopted. Clause 100, failure to register, House version adopted. Clause 101, failure to file returns, House version adopted. Clause 102, failure to keep books, House version adopted. Clause 109, penalty for non-compliance by BASP, virtual assets services providers, Senate version adopted. Clause 118, aiding and abetting commission of offenses, House version adopted. Clause 122, false and fictitious claim of VAT refund, Senate version adopted. Clause 123, default in payments of mineral royalties, House version adopted. Clause 136, failure to keep or provide records of chargeable transactions of surcharge, harmonized. Clause 145, conflict with other laws, House version adopted. And clause 147, interpretation, House version adopted. The Nigerian Revenue Service Bill, the difference. Clause 4, functions of the service, House version adopted. Clause 7, composition of the governing board, Senate version adopted. Clause 16, executive chairman of the service, House version adopted. Composition of the executive directors, clause 17. That is what is missing. There's clause 17. Please, clerk. Clause 17. Clause 17. Composition of the executive directors. House version adopted. Clause 22. Fund of the Service, House version adopted. Clause 23, Expenditure of Service, House version adopted. Clause 25, Accounts and Audits harmonized. Clause 26, Annual Report harmonized. Clause 30, Accountability harmonized. Clause 31, General Direction of Minister, House version. Clause 36, Service of Documents, House version. Clause 41, Savings and Transitional Provisions, House version adopted. For the Joint Revenue Board Bill, Clause 4, Composition of the Board, House version adopted. Clause 5, Functions of the Board, Senate version adopted. Clause 10, Executive Secretary of the Board, Senate version adopted. Clause 14, Fund of the Board, House version adopted. Clause 30, Funding of the Tribunal, Senate version adopted. Clause 31, Remuneration and Conditions of Service of Tax Appeal Commissioners, House version adopted. Clause 44, Funds of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman, Senate version adopted. Clause 59, Savings and Transitional Provisions, House version adopted. Clause Interpretation, Senate version adopted. Nigerian Tax Bill. Clause 4, Income, Profits or Gains chargeable to tax, House version adopted. Clause 12, Resident Individuals, Senate version adopted. Clause 13, Employment Income, House version adopted. Clause 18, Non-resident person engaged in shipping or air transport, House version adopted. Clause 27, Ascertainment of total profits of companies, House version adopted. Clause 28, Total income of an individual, Senate version adopted. Clause 29, Presumptive taxation, Senate version adopted. Clause 30, Ascertainment of chargeable income of individuals, House version adopted. Clause 34, Chargeable assets, House version adopted. Clause 36, Disposal of assets provisions as to consideration, Senate version adopted. Clause 40, Expenses incurred for disposal of chargeable assets, House version adopted. Clause 56, Rates of tax for companies, Senate version adopted. Clause 57, Effective tax rate harmonized. Clause 58, Rates of tax for individuals, House version adopted. Clause 59, Development levy harmonized. Clause 86, Provision relating to the commissioning and abandonment of funds, Senate version adopted. Clause 117, Administration of royalties harmonized. Clause 119, Unilateral relief of double taxation, Senate version adopted. Clause 123, Charge of duties harmonized. Clause 124, Manner of denoting duty, Senate version adopted. Clause 25, Obligation to stamp, Senate version adopted. Clause 130, Conveyance of sale, House version adopted. Clause 133, Provisions as to exchange, House version adopted. Clause 134, Leases, House version adopted. Clause 136, Duty on loan capital, House version adopted. Clause 150, Taxable supply by non-residents, Senate version adopted. Clause 155, Credit for input tax and remission of VAT, House version adopted. Imposition of surcharge, Clause 158, harmonized. Rate of surcharge, House version adopted. Clause 159, Base for surcharge harmonized. Chargeable services and products for surcharge, House version adopted. Chargeable transaction for surcharge, House version adopted. Clause 160, Administration of the surcharge harmonized. Clause 161, Exemption from surcharge harmonized. Income tax exemption, House version adopted. Production day and qualifying capital expenditure, House version adopted. Publication of economic development incentive certificate, Senate version adopted. Economic development tax credit, House version adopted. Interpretation, House version adopted. Exemption from stamp duties, House version adopted. Exempt supplies, Senate version adopted. Artificial transaction version, House version adopted. Repeals, House version adopted. Consequential amendments, Senate version adopted. Revocation and consequential amendment of subsidiary legislation, Senate version adopted. Clause 200, conflict with others, Senate version adopted. In conclusion, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the Conference Committee expresses appreciation to the leadership of the Senate and House of Representatives and the entire members of the committee for the opportunity to serve. I so submit.
Just come, the chairman. No, you can answer from there. Two questions. The first question is on the appointment of the executive directors. Who is responsible? Is it the president or the board?
The president is responsible for the appointment of executive directors.
That's one. Secondly, what is the meaning of harmonize?
Harmonize is a situation where
Point of order.
Mr. President,
Order.
Order 86, especially Order 86C. By the leave of the President of the Senate, may I go ahead and read?
Proceed.
Mr. President, Order 86C says, the Conference Committee shall deliberate only on areas of disagreement between the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Conference Committee shall not insert in its report any matter not committed by it, either by the House or the Senate, nor shall it be, in order to strike out from the bill, matter agreed to it by the Senate or House of Representatives. It wants to say, provided that if the Conference Committee observes any infringement on any provision of the bill with the Constitution or duplication or its conflict with any existing law not expressly repealed by the bill in reference, it shall draw the attention of the Senate and the House of Representatives to the said question for their consideration. Mr. President, these rules that is before us can only take version of either the Senate or version of the House of Representative position. Mr. President, this law does not contemplate any issue of harmonization. It is either one or two. There is nowhere in this law, Mr. President, that says harmonization is agreed and the two chambers will take. This law is intended to make the Conference Committee disposition for both the Senate and the House. There is nothing like harmonization that is contemplated within this law. It is either the House version or the Senate version.
Yes, sir. What he has done is right.
It is either of the two. It is either.
The observation, the point of order by distinguished Senator Nenge is absolutely noted. Chairman.
Chairman.
Chairman Finance. No, Chairman Finance. No, go there. Go there. Senator Ninge, approach the chair. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate is called to order. The chairman may wish to throw a little bit of light on the observation made by distinguished Senator Ningi to let us know the word, the physiology of harmonized version.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Actually, when the conference committee was meeting, we actually thought we had some differences between our own version and that of the House. So, on some of these subsections of the clauses. So, by the time we now step those clauses down and said we should do further consultation on them, and the next day we returned, we found out that it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I think it must be from the secretariat where they put, if not, either of the two will go. So for me, I would suggest, or I will maybe seek the support of my distinguished colleagues to adopt either House or Senate. It's the same thing. It's just the subsections of those clauses.
Okay,
Fine.
so Jesse.
Yeah, I think
No, it's the same thing. It's the same.
sometimes this kind of mistake do occur, but having explained and having rectified the situation and also made explanation, I think we should move ahead because everything is now clear. Yeah, we'll take the Senate version.
This is Senator Ningi.
Mr. President, I think what you need to do, since this is the Senate, all the harmonizer affairs before us will now be made Senate version. That will now, for tomorrow, it will be Senate version, not harmonized, Senate version. And then as we take clause by clause, anything, anywhere that I've seen harmonized, will now say Senate version.
Distinguished colleagues, the two suggestions, or the one suggestion is in order, because by virtue of our rules, it's either or. So, and then luckily from the explanation made by the chairman of finance, by the time they took what they thought were differences, they realized that it was just in terms of drafting, but the meaning was the same. So they now use the word harmonize. So in view of that, I want to say those in support that will proceed to accept not the word harmonize, but a version that is agreeable to the Senate. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the Chairman Finance. So go ahead and conclude. Secretary, take notes.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Clause 72, tax clearance certificates, Senate version. Clause 43, Clause 43.
No, sorry, you are true.
Okay.
Distinguished colleagues, please sit down. Will the Senate now adopt the conference committee report on the tax reform bills as presented and as explained? Those in support of the adoption of the tax reform bill say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The tax reform bills are hereby adopted. The Chairman, Finance, members of the conference committee, I must thank you for your painstaking and detailed work on behalf of the Senate. You are doing it for the sake of future generations and for better approach to taxation in Nigeria. We believe strongly that your work will live after you for posterity so that Nigeria can have a better and globally accepted taxation policies. So thank you for the great job that you have done. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues,
Where?
the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the 2024 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. Mr. President, you may wish to invite most distinguished
colleagues. Please, I'm sorry. I had said that we should not be fixing public hearings when the Senate has important bills. Therefore, the public hearing on, is it third fund, fixed for today, is suspended until 5 p.m. We must finish with the Senate. Yes, proceed.
Again, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the 2024 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. Mr. President, you may wish to invite His Excellency, most distinguished Senator Abdul Hamid Malam Medori Ahmed, to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee.
Yes.
Mr. President, most distinguished colleagues, I rise to present the report of the Senate Committee on Police Affairs on the year 2024 budget proposal of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. I so move, sir.
This is Senator Dixon Shiraki, His Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, and my dear colleagues, Henry Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West, and a member of the Committee on Police Affairs. I rise to second that this report be laid and considered as moved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the report on police affairs have been presented and seconded. Those in support that the report be now laid before us say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, you may present the report. Is that the chairman or vice chairman? Vice chairman. You may proceed to give us a summary of the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Yunus Yorakitunde, Deputy Chairman, Senate Committee on Police Affairs. This is the report of the Senate Committee on Police Affairs on the 2024 budget proposal of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. Introduction. On the 14th of February 2025, the Senate Committee on Police Affairs received a communication from the Office of the President of the Senate transmitting the 2024 budget proposal of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund for further legislative consideration. Following deliberations, the committee considered the reviewed proposed sum of 124,289,057,866 naira only as the 2024 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. The breakdown is as follows. Capital expenditure, 98 billion, 637 million, 732,741 naira, 64 kobo. Recurrent expenditure, personnel cost, 1 billion, 206 million, 310,618 naira, 16 kobo. Overhead cost, 8 billion, 53 million, 909,000. Committee consideration. The committee invited the executive secretary and management team of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund to a budget hearing, where the details of the 2024 budget were thoroughly examined. I want us to put it on notice that the committee sustained the 2024 revenue and expenditure budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund without any adjustment. Our observation. While reviewing the Nigeria Police Trust Fund 2024 budget proposal, the committee made the following observation. 1. The allocated budget shall be applied towards the training of police officers, the rehabilitation and construction of police stations, barracks and clinics nationwide, and the procurement of compressed natural gas vehicles and other related interventions. 2. The Nigerian Police Trust Fund is currently implementing the 2023 approved budget. Third, the projected revenue for 2024 is as follows. 0.5% of the total revenue accrued to federal account, which is 104 billion, 13 million, 501 naira, 418,000. 0.5% of total VAT equals to 18 billion, 900 million. 0.05% of net profit of companies in Nigeria equals to 500 million.
This is a colleague, the vice chairman of the committee. The report is already before us. All those things we have digested.
Okay, sir.
The content. So just go to your final conclusion.
The conclusion. The committee expresses its profound gratitude to the leadership of the Senate for the confidence reposed in it to consider the 2024 budget proposal of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund. The committee is hopeful that the recommendation herein will aid
so now
in reaching a consensus.
You can now read out the recommendations and then you conclude. Page 4.
Recommendation. Following its review, the committee made the following recommendation. 1. Personnel cost, 1,206,310,618 naira 16 kobo. Overhead expenditure, 24,444,014,506 naira. Capital expenditure, 98,637,732 naira 732,741 naira 61 kobo. Total recommended budget, 124,289,057,866 naira. The Nigerian Police Trust Fund should expedite the implementation of the 2024 budget to enhance policing efforts and address security challenges for the benefit of the nation and its citizens. Conclusion. The committee expresses its profound gratitude to the leadership of the Senate for the confidence reposed in it to consider the 2024 budget proposal of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. The committee is hopeful that the recommendation herein will aid in reaching a consensus that will significantly enhance the funding and operational capacity of the Nigerian Police Force. Thank you. I so submit.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the recommendations as met, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So let me thank distinguished Senator Maidori and distinguished Senator Yunus, the Vice Chairman, and all the members of the Committee on Police Affairs for the wonderful job done, and hope that this will add to the security of the nation. The expenditures that we made here from by the Police Trust Fund to enhance security all over the nation, and they should also ensure that you do proper oversight so that every cover that is herein appropriated will also be used for the benefit of the police and the nation in general. I thank you all for your contributions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the committees on FCT and FCT Area Council and ancillary matters on the Federal Capital Territory Appropriation Bill 2025 SB 787. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 14th May 2025. Mr. President, you may wish to invite most distinguished Senator Mohammed Bomai Ibrahim, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Senator Bomai.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Mohammed Bomai, Senator representing Yobe House. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the harmonized report of the Senate House of Representatives Committee on FCT and the Senate Committee on Area Council on the FCT 2025 statutory appropriation. I so move.
This is Senator Plan.
President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dicket Plan, Senator representing the good people of Plateau Central. I rise to second that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on FCT and FCT Area Council to consider the budget that have been properly analyzed for consideration. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those in support that the Senate do receive the reports of the FCT budget and FCT area councils and ancillary matters, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed to read the report. Leader of the Senate, may wish to move a motion for the Senate to resolve into Committee of Supply to consider the report. Yeah, just to ask, is the report the harmonized version?
Yes. Yes, that's, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, that's what I just tried to establish.
Yes,
it's a harmonized report.
I want to be sure it's not just the Senate version.
From the two chambers.
Is it what is coming from the two chambers?
Yeah.
No,
yes.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I wish to present the harmonized report of the Senate and House of Reps committees on FCT and the FCT Area Council on the 2025 Statutory Appropriation Bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that in line with the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, the 2025 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, 14th May 2025. The Senate concluded debate on the bill for the second reading on the same date, and the bill was referred to the committees of FCT and the Area Council for further legislative action. In accordance with Section 62, 80, 88, 89, and 299 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, the Senate and the House Committee of FCT met with the Honorable Minister and other relevant officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration and deliberated on the FCT 2025 Statutory Appropriation Bill. Findings: the FCT submitted a revenue profile of the sum of 1,314,708,392 as the total budget for the fiscal year 2025. The expenditure. The proposed structure of the expenditure for the year 2025 statutory budget is as follows. Personnel costs, 150 billion 353,906,168 naira. Then the overhead is 352 billion 29,677,448 naira. The total recurrent submitted is 502 billion 383,583,616 naira. The capital expenditure proposal is 1,311,690,124,776 naira. So the total expenditure is 1,014,708,392. The overhead, which constitutes 19.41% of the total budget, while the personnel costs constitute 8.29% of the budget. So the total recurrent of the budget is 27.69, while the total capital is 72.31%. Out of the 72.31%, 85% of the capital is dedicated to ongoing projects. So only 50% of the capital is for new projects. The best practice for budget framework is usually 70 for capital and 30 for the current. I'm pleased to inform the Senate that the FCT budget has 72% for capital and 27% for overhead, which shows that the structure of the budget is in conformity with the best practice. Recommendations. In view of the aforementioned, the committee has recommended that the sum of 1,814,708,392 be the total budget for the FCT 2025 statutory budget. And the breakdown is as follows. Capital expenditure, 1,311,690,124,776, while the personnel cost is 150,353,906 and 168. The overhead is 352,29,677,448. So on behalf of the Senate Committee on FCT and the Area Council, I here present the harmonized FCT 2025 statutory appropriation bill of the sum of 1,814,708,392 naira for the consideration of the Senate. I humbly submit. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Jimmy Kuta, you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. Mr. President, I don't have anything to say, but I have something to say. The budget expenditure for FCT 2025 appropriation is what we are expecting, and the minister have done well, and we have checked. We have seen that every area that need to be captured and areas where our colleagues, when they read the budget for the second time, raised some concerns, have been captured. So we ask the Senate to pass this accordingly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Manguno.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohammed Tahir Munguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I am particularly impressed by the fact that 70% of the resources is deployed to capital expenditure, because this is the aspect of expenditure that goes directly to the grassroots and uplifts the living standards of the people, as opposed to recurrent expenditure carrying the bulk of expenditure. So I will commend this policy to all tiers of government, particularly the federal government, to emulate what is happening in FCT by trying as much as possible to deploy 70% of the expenditure to capital projects rather than going into recurrent expenditure. I think this Senate should rise up to the occasion in subsequent budgets to ensure that 70% of the expenditure is deployed to capital projects. In addition to that, The budget also emphasizes on finishing ongoing projects that will also translate into judicious utilization of resources. So I commend the budget and support the second reading of the bill. Thank you.
Deputy Senate President.
Mr. President, let me commend the FCT minister for doing a wonderful job in reshaping the FCT and the local governments or area councils attached to the FCT. The FCT is experiencing a wonderful trend in terms of development and restructuring for the betterment of the survival of the inhabitants of the FCT. A lot of things are happening. Roads are being constructed, bridges are being constructed, a lot of things. Sanitation sanitation is also improving of the FCT. FCT has never gotten it so good. I feel it is good you mentioned this because I was in the forefront in terms of those years, calling for an intervention in FCT to make it better because it is the face of our country. It symbolizes sovereignty. This is the capital of Nigeria. It is a symbol of our country. So anything, if things are not being done to put in that position that it deserves, then it's not good for us as a country. And thank God that all is being done now through the current minister in reshaping the FCT. I mean, so, and even looking at the budget clearly demonstrates the determination of the minister to do what is expected, in bringing FCT, the federal capital, at par with other capital cities in the world. From the budget, it clearly demonstrates, what he intends to, or his the route he has taken to reshape the FCT. The entire budget is 1.8 trillion, but 1.3 trillion is allocated for capital development. For capital development, 1.8 trillion, 1.3 trillion. So this is a very, very good trend, very good trend. And the committee is also doing a wonderful job by giving a good oversight of what all the FCT is doing. And of course, we have to thank Mr. President. Without the support of Mr. President, this cannot be possible. I understand the president is always, watching what is going on in terms of what FCT minister is doing. This is good. It takes two to tango. The entire arrangement is doing well. The president is doing well. The minister is doing well, and even the committee is doing well. So we should continue to support the president, support the minister, so that he can continue the work they are doing to make our city, capital city, to be at par with what we see in London, with what we see in Washington, and so on and so forth. Mr. President, I so submit, without much ado, this budget is self-explanatory. We should just pass it so that the minister can continue to do good what he's doing for FCT.
Thank you. The simple term is that you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. So if you don't have a good provision for capital outlay, there is no way you can have projects if everything goes into recurrent expenses. So, distinguished leader of the Senate, you may wish to move that we resolve into Committee of Supply to conclude this.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so move.
Yes, the Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate resolves into the Committee of Supply to conclude legislative actions on the bill.
Distinguished colleagues, for further legislative action on this FCT bill, the Senate has moved, the leader has moved, and seconded by the Minority Leader that we We resolve into committee of the whole, or committee of supply, to consider clause by clause consideration of this bill. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 2025 Federal Capital Territory FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2025 SB 787. Schedule Part A to form part of the bill, recurring non-debt expenditure, total personnel costs. Those who support that the total personnel costs inserted herein form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Total overhead costs, as herein stated. Those who support that the total overhead costs form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part B, capital expenditure. Those who support that the capital expenditures form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who support that clause 1 and 2 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that clauses 3, 4, and 5 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that clauses 6 and 7 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum on page 11. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title clause 7 on page 3. Those in support that the short title form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The long title is on page 2. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate now reverse to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of Supply considered the report of the Committee on Federal Capital Territory (FCT) on the Federal Capital Territory FCT Appropriation Bill 2025 and approved as follows: recurrent non-debt expenditure, total personnel and overhead costs as recommended. Clauses 1 to 6 as recommended. Capital expenditure as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Short title on clause 7 as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of Supply? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the bill be now read for the third time. I so move.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be now read the third time. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this bill be now read a third time. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the sum of 1,843,708,392 naira only, of which the sum of 150,353,906,168 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 352,677,448 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 1,311,690,000,000